We are on. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and race fans everywhere. Welcome to this edition, the socially distanced edition of Burnin Rubber for July 10th, 2020. My name is Sterling Siemens, and I'm joined tonight, as usual, by my co-hosts, Hal Estep and Justin Palmer. Fellas, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, ready to talk motorsports.
Fantastic. Justin?
Yeah, yeah. Happy happy 12-year anniversary to SHR. First off, and getting excited for tonight's talk. Like a lot of good racing to talk about on tonight's show.
Oh, for sure. So, let's go ahead and jump right into it. There was a lot that happened. First of all, we hope that everyone had a fun and safe Independence Day weekend. 4th of July was this past Saturday. And speaking of racing on the 4th of July, NASCAR was in town along with IndyCar for a doubleheader at the IMS road course, the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 2 races were held on the 4th of July there. The first one was the GMR Grand Prix of Indianapolis. Scott Dixon, the 5-time IndyCar champion and winner of the season opener at Texas, promptly went out and he wasn't the most dominant car, but he pulled away. He was the force to be reckoned with in the second half of the show. He ended up winning the GMR Grand Prix on the Indianapolis road course to go a perfect 2 for 2 in 2020 to start the season. Scott Dixon won the event. As I look at the results right now, Simon Pagenaud, I believe, finished second.
Graham Rahal.
Yeah, thank you. It was Graham Rahal who finished second. Pagenaud was on the podium. But overall, just a really great showing for Scott Dixon. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that race and the race that followed it, the Pennzoil 150 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series at the IMS road course. This, frankly, was one of the best races of the year. Maybe even one of the best in a very long time for the Xfinity Series on a road course. It really gives Indianapolis racing at the Brickyard for the Xfinity Series some significance. And in the end, Indiana's own Chase Briscoe won the first ever running of the Xfinity Series on the IMS road course. It is his 5th win of the 2020 season. He beat out Justin Haley to win it. Noah Gragson was 3rd. AJ Allmendinger was in 4th. Overall, just a really thrilling finish near the end. And we'll just talk about both of these together. I'll start with Hal Estep. These 2 races, I gotta say, it was something significant for both IndyCar and NASCAR to run the same track on the same day. I guess one of the things I'll ask was, what was the most entertaining aspect out of racing at IMS on the 4th of July?
Now, I don't mean to bag on IndyCar, but the Xfinity Series had the better product on the track, I think. IndyCar was a little bit of a drag going through. It had a good amount of lead changes, I'll give them that. Will Power ended up in 20th after starting on the pole and leading 28 laps. I mean, that's some good parity, but it just didn't have that feel. Now, the Xfinity Series had that feel. There was a bunch of incidents in the race that are just kind of, you had 3 favorites going into this race: Austin Cindric, Justin Allgaier, and AJ Allmendinger. And of course, none of them finished in the top 3. It's Chase Briscoe because he's that good. I mean, it had everything. We had a car catch on fire at one point, which was absolutely terrifying. Brandon Jones hasn't had a break in the last 3 weeks. Someone please get that guy a car out of incidents. That poor guy has been through a lot these last few weeks. It was a really good weekend, and I hope there's more of these Indy NASCAR doubleheaders in the future. I think we all know this is something they want to do, and the lack of fans kind of hurts, but it is a good start. I think it shows that you can run on the same day. You can have a doubleheader, and I'm sure if the fans were there, they would have loved it. So it looks good for the future.
Yeah, and as for Will Power, he actually stalled the car on pit road on one of his pit stops. That's why he ended up so far back in the field and he could just never recover. Justin Palmer, your take on the entertainment provided from Saturday's racing at IMS?
Well, I mean, it was very much a traditional, I guess you could say now, traditional IndyCar road course race. As we haven't seen that factor at Indy on that road course in a very long time for open wheel racing. And it's been quite some time, and IndyCar hasn't been able to provide it. I would even go back to the days of F1 when they were there. Now, as for the Xfinity series, I wasn't so sure it was going to work. I thought it was going to play out like a traditional Xfinity race. I thought there was going to be a huge wreck in turn one. They did not. It's shockingly the one race in the past 3 weeks where they did not wreck on the first lap. Just that is crazy to think about. That they made it through turn one on a brand new course, and they can't get through on the other 3 courses that they've ran constantly. However, that finish is holy cow. I knew going into this race we were going to have AJ Allmendinger or Austin Cindric. They were going to be the top 2. But I had that gut suspicion that Chase Briscoe was going to be a factor just because he's the Hoosier, and he was going to not he was going to give it his all, basically, going into that race. And he drove the wheels off of it. Every single one of the guys in the top 4 drove the wheels off the cars at that end of the race. I thought for sure they were not making it back around. This is probably my favorite road course that out any of the series is in NASCAR, and that includes the truck races, which has had some very good races at Canadian Tire. Since Watkins Glen back in 2012, it was on that level. And it was very constant, action-packed. Like there were battles going around all race long. I mean, the battle for the lead wasn't that competitive at the beginning of the race, but at the end, man, did that compensate for it. It was awesome to see Chase Briscoe get the win, get to climb the fence, and celebrate a hometown victory, as it were. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that race, Ace, and we'll get into it in a little bit. But I mean, there is now a legitimate argument for the Cup to go to the road course instead of the oval. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, the race for the Xfinity Series was definitely really entertaining throughout. And not only have I noticed, but I feel like I haven't given Chase Briscoe enough credit because he's actually a really, really good road course racer. If you recall back to 2018, the inaugural year that both the Xfinity and Cup Series ran on the Charlotte Roval, it was Chase Briscoe who won the first running on the Roval for the Xfinity Series. That was his first career win. So, like silently, he really is a really good road course racer. He was a threat to win at the Roval even last year. And now this year with IMS, of course, you love to see like someone from this native state where the race is being held. You love to see the hometown kid win it. And for Chase Briscoe to win on his home track, it had to have been really special. And especially for the crew to climb the fence. If only there were fans there. I'll say that.
Yeah.
If only there were fans there. Just going back on that, looking at the rest of the schedule now, the agenda of what happened. Meanwhile, about just on the other side of the country, if we're talking north to south, on the southern end in Daytona Beach, Florida, IMSA was back. The WeatherTech Sports Car Championship returned to action, running in the WeatherTech 240 on the Daytona Road Course at Daytona International Speedway. Mazda Motorsports, they led a 1-2 finish for the DPI class in IMSA's return. The third position for DPI was taken by the Acura Team Penske squad. So really good showing for Mazda Motorsports to sweep the top 2 spots on the podium with their prototypes. Over in Formula One, their season opened up this past weekend. And I can't believe I have to say this, but all of us, let's be honest, all of us were thinking Lewis Hamilton was going to win. The only reason we picked Verstappen and Albon was just to not pick Hamilton and ride off the coattails of Justin here. Well, here's the thing. Hamilton didn't win. He actually didn't even get on the podium, if you can believe that. And by the way, Hal's pick, Max Verstappen, had an electronics issue earlier, so Verstappen wasn't on the podium. He didn't even finish the race. And Alexander Albon had issues late, and he, I don't even think, got in the points, if I'm correct on that. So we were all wrong on this. We all missed the mark. However, there is one constant, and that is Mercedes dominance. Valtteri Bottas won the pole for the Austrian Grand Prix and ran away with it. Don't get me wrong. It was actually a very entertaining race. But Bottas led from start to finish, wire to wire, flag to flag, whatever term you want to use. And Valtteri Bottas wins the F1 season opener at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria. It was Charles Leclerc for Ferrari getting second. Third, thanks to a time penalty that Lewis Hamilton had, third was taken by McLaren's Lando Norris, his first career Formula One podium. If you listen to his radio chatter, you could tell he was ecstatic over the radio when it happened. So overall, a surprisingly entertaining F1 opener, something you love to see, especially in this day and age.
It was truly it was chaotic. It was absolutely chaotic. Like when you have 45% of the field not finish the race or have issues, that's actually kind of shocking how much cars were getting involved and wrecking all over the place. Of course, you had to have a traditional Ferrari spin. Of course, Haas F1 and was wrecking all over the place. And of course, you have Mercedes win, and that just seems like traditional stuff. But this was kind of a barn burner in terms of just how good this race was. As you really never felt like this had a boring lap because you either had Hamilton trying to catch Bottas, or you had action going on elsewhere on the track, basically. And how about McLaren getting back on the podium? Talk about an underdog story there. I know it came because Hamilton decided to give Bottas not Bottas, but Albon the dump, which is starting to become another tradition, and as of 2019. But basically, man, it was great to see McLaren on the podium. I have no idea how Ferrari got on the podium based on the practice speeds and how bad they were in qualifying this week. It was a very chaotic, it was a very weird top three. And we also have to mention, and Lewis Hamilton, probably one of the reasons why Lewis Hamilton did not end up on the podium was because he had a 3 grid in penalty because he failed to slow down in the yellow section under qualifying. So, I guess the Red Bull protests worked after all, even though it didn't go in their favor quite this week.
I mean, it worked in some way.
I gotta say that if it wasn't for Lewis Hamilton dumping Albon was going to win that race. He was on better tires. He was making the pace. He had already passed Lewis Hamilton, let's be honest, and he gets dumped. And a lot of people were saying that penalty given to Hamilton for that wasn't enough because how many seconds did Albon lose because of that? How many positions did he lose because of that?
Albon fell all the way to 13th.
Yeah, he was a massive loss for Albon because he was making great pace on Bottas. I got to say, it was incredibly entertaining. Like, that was – the fact that Lewis Hamilton didn't finish in the podium probably made it more entertaining for a lot of people because everyone loves to watch him lose. And that's a little bit unfair. But, I mean, I get it. Dynasties are annoying. So it's nice to see them when they're not on top for once.
Yeah, just looking down the rest of the grid, I'll go to through the top 10. By the way, it should be noted that Nicholas Latifi on debut finishes 11th for Williams. I mean, given it was more than likely because of all the attrition that happened around him, but still 11th, just outside the points. Almost had it for Williams. Looking through the top 10, you have Bottas, Leclerc, and Norris the podium. Lewis Hamilton finishes in 4th. Carlos Sainz in the other McLaren. He had a podium near the end of last year at Brazil and follows that up with a 5th place run here in the season opener. Then you have, the Racing Point of Sergio Perez gets in there, a solid 6th place finish. Pierre Gasly in AlphaTauri's quote-unquote official debut. He finishes 7th. Esteban Ocon gets into the points for Renault in his Formula One return after taking last year off being a test driver. He comes home in 8th. Antonio Giovinazzi gets a good run for Alfa Romeo in 9th. And then rounding out the points, the other Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel. Oh boy, if Vettel does not pick it up, it will likely be a very long season for the 4-time world champion. So let's talk about another race that happened. The other race, probably the main event that we'll be talking about, the Brickyard 400. It was something. I mean, there was some entertainment in there on restarts mostly, but you could just look at the bonsai moves that Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin were pulling, going 3 wide into turn 3 for the lead. I mean, Harvick's in particular reminded me so much of the move that Ryan Hunter-Reay pulled on Helio Castroneves to win the Indy 500 in 2014, because he was almost in the grass. But there was one key thing that marred the race: right front tire failures. We saw 3 of them in the race to 3 popular names in the sport. It first happened to Eric Jones while Jones was running in the top 10, top 15. Cut a tire in turn 3, just slammed the wall hard. And then within the last 20 to 30 laps, it happened to Alex Bowman going through turn 1 into turn 2. But perhaps most notably, with 7 laps to go, Denny Hamlin with about a half-second lead on Kevin Harvick going into turn 1, the win of the Brickyard 400 in sight, and a right front tire goes, and he just slams the wall in turn 1. Just honestly, it was a bummer. I mean, I know that a lot of people don't like Denny Hamlin, but even there were some who I could see just watching that, they're like, man, that sucks for Denny. And it ruined what would have been a great battle for the win. And don't get me wrong, the ending was still pretty entertaining. But Kevin Harvick wins his 2nd consecutive Brickyard 400 and 3rd overall. Just really goes to show that the title fight right now in the Cup Series is between Hamlin and Harvick. There also was a pretty big accident on pit road right after the competition yellow. It took out several cars, including Martin Truex Jr., Brennan Poole. I think both JTG Daugherty cars were taken out, Preece and Stenhouse. Corey LaJoie driving a Trump 2020 car. There
Justin
was
Allgaier.
Yeah, Allgaier too. Justin Allgaier substituting for Jimmy Johnson due to Johnson's COVID-19 diagnosis. Several cars were involved, and perhaps the scariest part of it, not perhaps, but easily the scariest part of it was when Ryan Blaney, his pit crew, was servicing the car, and then just a traffic jam unfolded on pit road. Several cars just didn't slow down. One of his crew members, Zach Price, one of the crewmen for Ryan Blaney, suffered a pretty big leg injury. However, he was taken to the hospital from the track. He was in good spirits when he left the facility, and he has now actually been released. He is recovering at home. He is not in Kentucky this weekend with the team. He is at home recovering, and we wish him nothing but the best in his recovery, because that was certainly a scary-looking incident on pit road. But I've got to ask, Justin, with these right front tires that blew out almost without any big indication that they were going, I got to ask, is there anything that you think can be done to minimize the severity of these impacts, because there were a lot of people that I saw who were on social media who were saying that these hits don't really need to be that hard. Is there anything in your mind that can be done about that?
First of all, you got to get at safer barriers around that racetrack. It's the last track that doesn't have safer barriers around the full racetrack, and you can even see that from the camera angles. So thank goodness nobody it was hit those areas of the track. Obviously, they have them in the corners, but it, obviously that still is a big concern, and at least to me, not to have full safer barriers on the outside wall. Now, having the tires on the inside is fine, as it showed last year with Brad Keselowski's incident, because sometimes that can be better than what the safer barriers can provide. Other than that, at safety-wise, I guess my only response would be to use either Firestone or Hoosier tires. There's at that track, is obviously Goodyear or Michelin, and whoever tries to bring a tire that's not from IndyCar, or is not partnered with IndyCar, or has had tire issues at this racetrack, at Brickyard, or has been plagued by it. It killed the racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in terms of attendance for NASCAR in 2008. We all remember that. And it killed the U.S. Grand Prix for a good while as well, until they finally went to Austin. So I don't know what else you can do. Goodyear, you've had your chance, and you make the same mistake you did 10 years ago. Obviously, you did not bring the right tire, and I almost had a feeling that they were going to mess this up because they were using the Pocono tires, and Pocono's a very different track than and Indy, simply because of the 14-degree banking in turn one. And at Pocono, Indianapolis is a lot, even though Indianapolis is a lot more flat, and one of the corners at Pocono has the same banking as Indy, it's still a different track. It's still a completely different track. So, there's obviously an issue with the tires at Indianapolis. Now, with that said, this race it was a combination of 2008 and 2017. You had the chaos factor, but you also had the nagging tire issue. It wasn't as bad as 2008, I'll say that much. And it certainly wasn't as bad as 2016. But it was a very interesting race because of the tires. And also Ryan Newman had issues with it as well. But it was very interesting. It sucks for Hamlin because he had that race in the bag. Because, again, and we all know, once you're in front at Indy, you're not giving it up. I don't even think Harvick would have had a chance, and if Hamlin didn't blow up the tire, or nor would Matt Kenseth have had one. But it's definitely a very interesting situation right now at Indianapolis, and quite honestly, there's definitely some serious talk that this track needs to go from here. But I mean, it's definitely a debate worth having.
Yeah. Hal, what do you think about the subject?
Early on in the race, at about lap 14, Kevin Harvick came to pit road, and everyone just kind of went, why is he doing that? Caution came out, and everyone was kind of second guessing it. I have a feeling he felt something with that tire. He didn't want to blow up that tire, and he wanted to get 4 new fresh ones on so that he could avoid it. And the more the race went on, you could kind of see that was a great move on his part, on his team's part, to go down to pit road. Now, Indianapolis has been plagued by this, and you got to just wonder, it's everyone but Firestone. I, for some reason, just brought upon myself to watch a video about the worst Grand Prix ever, because only 6 teams ran the U.S. Grand Prix. And one part of it was that Firestone had the data on the tires from the IndyCar races and did not share it with Michelin. I got to wonder if Goodyear just lacks that data as well, and they can't get the tire well-tuned for Indianapolis. They've struggled historically with the track. So it may be a part of this year you couldn't test the tire at Indianapolis. That might be part of it. But that's no excuse at this point because this is a recurring theme. Every decade we get some kind of just tire issue with Goodyear and Indianapolis, and that's just unacceptable. You're putting the safety of the drivers at risk every time you go to the track because you're not sure if that tire is going to be up to par. And you gotta wonder if it's part of it still that paving, if that has anything to do with the tires going out, but that shouldn't have anything to do with it. Your tires should be able to hold up to the track. So get it together because you're going to be out of the sport if you keep this going on. And Indianapolis, here's the thing with Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is either a boring race or a chaotic race. And quite frankly, while I like chaos and all, I don't like that that's the two extremes. There's no good race. There's no generic good battle. I don't like the track on the schedule anymore. Make it the road course. We saw it was a great Xfinity race. I get it. It's historic. There's a legacy. But it just it isn't good. It's chaos for the sake of chaos. I want a racetrack that is great for racing without the wrecks every couple laps, without tires blowing up, without having to depend on an overtime for Casey Kane to pull out an upset or another late caution to get Matt Kenseth in a battle. I want to see these guys in a battle in a real race, not here's another blow up. We'd have to stop the race again so that you can all catch up and have a good restart. Because that's the only time it's entertaining is on a restart. Come on.
All right, let me play devil's advocate here. I think that the Cup Series could possibly do a doubleheader where they run the road course one day and then the next day they run the oval. Because even though the racing on the oval can be hit or miss, the oval is still a significant part of racing history. And like you ask around the Cup garage, they'll tell you they want to be on the oval. Eric Almirola in his post-race presser, he wants to be on the oval. Kevin Harvick wants to be on the oval. The thing is, there's a couple things. And by the way, Hal, that video you mentioned, I'm almost certain I know what video it is. Slap Shoes video on the worst F1 Grand Prix, the 2005 USGP, where all the Michelin teams, which was all but 3 of them, didn't race because their tires kept exploding in turn 13 or IndyCar/NASCAR turn 1. A couple things that I feel like can be changes that can be made to combat these issues. Number one, Goodyear's got to bring a harder tire compound. The way that these compounds are, the way that Indy's track surface is, it's pretty abrasive. They use diamond grinding, or what Humpy Wheeler, the old president at Charlotte Motor Speedway, when they went through a repave in 2005, they called it levigation. And if you remember the 2005 Coke 600, the first race after levigation, that race had 22 cautions and over a quarter of the race was run under the yellow. And keep in mind, the 600 has 400 laps on a 1.5-mile track. That's bad. So they did the same process for Indianapolis. And the tires, if it's not a hard compound, it's more than likely going to wear out very, very quickly. But another thing that I noticed is that with the package the way it is, it's very easy for the drivers to just go through the corners flat out. And that's why the impacts we're seeing are so heavy. They're very just brutal impacts that they're taking. I saw a lot of suggestions online, and I felt like, it actually makes sense. They need to have more downforce on the cars. That way they can actually let off the gas, hit the brake if they have to go through the corners. That way they don't just hold it flat out through the corners and the impacts aren't so heavy. But again, it's just at the same time though, like we care about the sport and we can criticize it. But we also need to remember, without those safer barriers and Hans devices, I'd say 20-25 years ago, those hits would have produced much different results for the drivers that hit those walls. Eric Jones, Alex Bowman, and for sure Denny Hamlin. They probably would not be able to walk out under their own powers from those cars after they hit. Now, I still think the Cup Series should run on the oval, but at the same time though, based on the Xfinity race, I think I don't know if I'd be in favor of making a change for next year, because I think the first thing you got to do is get fans in there. Just see how they react to the whole thing. Get some fans there watching the event. If they like it just the way it is, then keep it the way it is. If they don't like it, then maybe change something about it. But it's fun to experiment. It's just I want to see fans there first before jumping to any big conclusions. Before we go on, there was one other race that happened. That was yesterday, the first Xfinity race of a doubleheader that is actually going on right now. They're running the Allsco 300 at Kentucky tonight because the Shady Rays 200 was run last night, and Austin Cindric got his first career win on an oval. It's his third career win overall, but Austin Cindric, once he got the lead in the second half of the race, he never looked back. It's his first win on an oval. Some news that happened out of that, Justin Allgaier was involved in an accident on the last lap where he, it said that he cut a tire coming out of turn 2. He lost control of his car, hit Ronnie Bassett Jr. Bassett hit the inside wall really hard. Meanwhile, Allgaier hit the outside wall and got hit again, I think, by Timmy Hill. It was reported after the incident that Allgaier had been taken to a local hospital, and he was checked and released early this morning. JR Motorsports announced that Allgaier had been taken there for non-racing related medical purposes, and he was actually cleared to drive for tonight. So he's in the race right now that's going on. But Justin, remind me, it was Allgaier. Allgaier said it was like a quick heartbeat that he was taken to the hospital over. That's what he said, at least.
It was a higher heartbeat than he had, and more than usual. And by the way, as while we're kind of discussing in the current race, not Justin Haley, but Austin Cindric's going to win the second stage. Noah Gragson won the first stage tonight. And right now, Allgaier is currently 17th, one lap down, as is pretty much half the field at this point.
That's right. The Allsco 300 currently ongoing. Austin Cindric is about to win stage 2 for that race. So we basically run down everything that happened. Riley Herbst finished second, by the way. Ross Chastain was in third. It should be noted, Chastain was not a fan of the racing going on last night. He was involved in an accident with Brett Moffitt. He got loose underneath Moffitt and accidentally wrecked both of them. Moffitt rebounded to finish in the top 10, but Chastain's colleague racing teammate Justin Haley also got loose and wrecked Brandon Brown out of the race. It was really difficult to drive that inside line, I'll say, just from the first race. And Chastain, in his post-race presser, which I was fortunate enough to be a part of, Chastain basically towed the lines of basically trying to avoid the statement that the track sucked, just trying to avoid saying that directly. But there is more racing going on this weekend. ARCA, the Trucks, and the Cup Series will be at Kentucky, and we will talk about that on the next week's show. So we've covered all the racing that happened so far. Let's get into Sterling Spotlight. I'm going to talk about a few drivers that are that really caught my attention. First of all, Matt Kenseth. This was easily, by far, his best race since coming out of retirement. Ran in the top 5, top 10 all race long in the Brickyard 400 and finished second for Chip Ganassi Racing, just behind Kevin Harvick. Outstanding showing for Matt Kenseth, and a really welcome sign for him after coming out of retirement to replace Kyle Larson. Cole Custer, he got his first career Cup Series top 5 finish this past weekend. We've talked about how Custer is really lagging behind in that Stewart-Haas equipment. He finally showed his potential this weekend with a top 5 finish, finishing 5th. Michael McDowell continues to impress for Front Row Motorsports. He had a top 10 at the first race in Pocono. Now he gets a top 10 here at the Brickyard 400, a 7th place run for Front Row Motorsports. Just goes to show that team entirely is really picking up their pace. Bubba Wallace. Yeah, I know he's been in the news a lot with a whole lot of other stuff, but he is actually having a great season so far. This was his second consecutive top 10 finish at the Brickyard. He finished third in last year's 400 miler, and he finished, I believe it was ninth in this year's running. So Bubba Wallace really showing up for RPM. As for the Xfinity race on the IMS road course, Alex LeBay and Preston Pardis, of course, Preston Pardis, the son of former driver Dan Pardis, both LeBay and Pardis got top 10 runs, something that you really don't see from underfunded operations or very little known guys in the Xfinity series, although it is seemingly kind of commonplace this year. Renus VK, talk about redemption. From crashing out of a rookie race in the IndyCar series to getting a top 5 finish this past weekend at the IMS road course. VK is the highest finishing rookie from the GMR Grand Prix. And last but certainly not least, we've got to talk about someone from Missouri, actually, close to the St. Louis side, Wentzville, Missouri, Kyle Weatherman, driving for Mike Harmon Racing. They got a top 10 last night. Not only is it the first career Xfinity Series top 10 for Kyle Weatherman, who finished 8th in the race, but it is also the first career top 10 for Mike Harmon Racing in general. So just a really great showing from them last night to get an 8th place run. Although, remind me again, Justin, you're the one who's keeping track of the race. He crashed out on the first lap tonight.
Yeah, I hit the wall. Once coming off the turn 2, and hit it again turn 3 and 4, but no caution. And surprisingly, caution did come out 2 laps later for Ryan Sieg, but not a pleasant night, to say the least, is for that race team.
Yeah, Brandon Jones also, guy cannot catch a break. Last night, first, Pocono, he got wrecked by Austin Cindric coming out of turn 2 on the first lap. Didn't make one lap there. Then he gets through, he had a fire during the IMS road course race. And then last night, he got taken out in an accident with Jeb Burton after Burton spun in front of him and he had nowhere to go on the first lap. So, man, Jones just cannot catch a break. Luckily,
still going tonight.
He has that one.
Still going tonight.
He's still going right now. I mean, at least he has that going for him. Okay, so we've gone through my spotlight section. Real quick, just taking a few minutes here. I'll start with Hal on this subject. Do you buy or sell more IndyCar / NASCAR doubleheader events in the future?
I'd buy that. I think it's inevitable. I mean, they wanted to do it this year with the fans. The whole point was basically you can expand your fan bases by including NASCAR fans getting into IndyCar, IndyCar fans getting into NASCAR, and you didn't get that because of everything going on. They're going to want to try it again, and I think it'll be successful because this was an entertaining weekend. Even though there were some spots that weren't so great, I mean, overall, it was a tremendous weekend of racing.
Yep. Justin, buy or sell on that?
I'm gonna go ahead and say, what my theme tonight is. It's moderation, and everything is good in moderation. So, would I like to see more Air Cup IndyCar days? Yes, absolutely. I would love to see some more. However, I do not want to see it at 6, 7, 8 times every single year. If we do it once, twice, maybe even 3 times, I'd be fine with that. I would absolutely love to do that at Indianapolis, maybe Iowa, Road America. They do it at the trucks and the IndyCar, and would normally be at Gateway doing it. So absolutely buy, but when you mix the Cup and the IndyCar, it's got to be in moderation.
All right. Also, for the next question on buy or sell, should the Cup Series go to the road course at Indianapolis, yes or no?
I'm going to say yes with the caveat. You have a running theme with the Xfinity Series where they put on more entertaining races some weekends than the Cup Series. Get the aero package right if you're going to do this. I don't want to watch the Xfinity guys go out there, put on a great show, and you're just going, I can't wait for tomorrow's race just to be let down like usual. You're going to have to get the aero package right. you're going to have to make sure that the tires hold up as well, because that turn one is still there. And I don't want to see those tires blow up during a road course race, which they didn't during the Xfinity race, which is curious to me. So just make sure to get it right if you're going to do it, because I don't want to see a bore.
I'm not willing to buy it just yet, just because of we did not see the fans in there, and two, number one, that's that I cannot speak tonight. That would be my number one point, and number two, I as much as I would want to say get rid of the brickyard or racing in just altogether. Here's the deal. No, the Brickyard 400 is a crown jewel. That is not going to be easy to get rid of. You can't really get rid of a race that is considered a crown jewel. That's not how this works. You can obviously modify dates and modify just like the length of the race. We've seen that done before, but I'm not ready to get rid of the oval just yet. Would I be in favor of a doubleheader? Absolutely. I would love to have a doubleheader, but I'm not really seeing that unless NASCAR wants to go to a 40-race schedule with 4 doubleheaders scheduled. And obviously Indianapolis would get one of those in the doubleheaders, but who would give up a date? Who would be giving up a date? Kansas, Las Vegas is who would be giving up that date to get a second race at Indianapolis. So unless they're expanding the schedule, I just don't want to see the oval go just yet. So, and I would kind of just hope that as much as I hate the racing at Indianapolis on the oval, I still think you gotta keep it. It's kind of a necessary evil, like having a race at Sochi or a race at Monaco. You're not gonna get the best race there, but a race, especially at Monaco, that's too. You can't get rid of Monaco unless you have a pandemic.
Right. It'll be interesting to see if Cup does go to the Indy road course in the future. I think it'd be great. It'd be a nice experiment, but we'll just need to have fans there. Let's move on to another topic that really has caught the motorsports world by storm. Fernando Alonso, the 2-time Formula One world champion and 2017 Indy 500 Rookie of the Year, as well as former winner of Le Mans 24 Hours and Daytona 24 Hours. Fernando Alonso is coming back to Formula One. He is going to reunite with the Renault Formula One team that he won the championship in 2005 and 2006 with. He is set to return to Renault for the first time since 2009. He will be driving with them in 2021, being paired up with Esteban Ocon. So obviously this is a big deal for Fernando Alonso. He's one of the modern day best racers of our time, I would say. And he's going to be running the Indy 500 this year with Aero McLaren SP. Given that he qualifies, let's not just shoo him in for getting in, because I'll admit I did that last year, and a lot of motorsports people know what happened. But I gotta ask, Justin, what do you think are the expectations for Fernando Alonso joining not McLaren but Renault, joining Renault for 2021? How do you think he does?
Well, if you join McLaren and I would be hearing the Imperial March more often, but with him joining Renault, I really can't tell, just because Renault's kind of one of those teams that go up and down in terms of the mid-pack crews. So could he be good? Could he be a driver that can challenge the McLarens? Could he go up there and try to get a podium or two? I don't know. And 2021 is kind of a very murky year in terms of what we're going to get, because it's not going to be 2022 necessarily. but at the same time, and it's still got that same, and you still have the cap next year. You don't have a DAS system next year. Or it's going to be a very murky year, and I would almost call it a transition year. What this year was kind of supposed to be for Formula One racing, and so I don't know. It will be interesting to see him come back and see if he still has it.
I think he'll have some good runs. I mean, he is Fernando Alonso. He's a legend. But his best days have obviously come and gone. I'd say he's past his prime, and that's safe to say, because his prime was in the mid-2000s. It is 2020. I wouldn't expect anybody to keep that up. However, I think he'll do well, but it's going to be the same story next year. Well, probably, unless the ban really affects Mercedes that badly. Mercedes is going to dominate. Renault is going to be, I think, still mid-pack. Fernando Alonso will probably also be mid-pack. And that's not bad. I mean, he's in his late 30s. Is he 40 yet? No, he's 38. It's a good run to show you still got it, but I don't think anybody expects him to go out there and win a championship. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, with Renault, I don't see Alonso winning a championship because, like you guys said, I mean, his best days are clearly behind him. He's a two-time world champion, back-to-back 05, 06. In fact, his last podium finish came with Ferrari in 2014. I mean, 6 years ago. And he hasn't run in Formula One since 2018 when he competed the full season driving for McLaren right before they actually became good with Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris last year. So, yeah, I don't expect much out of Alonso, especially considering how Renault isn't really the fastest team. They're not the slowest, but they're not the fastest either. So I would expect probably some mid-pack runs, get some points finishes. A podium would be ideal, though, at least one for Alonso, just to show that, hey, he's still got it. But, yeah, overall, just really exciting that Fernando Alonso is going to be back just to have his presence back in the F1 paddock. It'd be something really good. So, I mean, just making that real quick. Hal Leestep, I know there was some talk about the money team, or at least something, like a little inkling. And I know Justin put something out about it. Hal, I know you're disappointed, but is there anything new to report on the money team?
Fernando Alonso won't be driving for the money team. That's, I guess, some news. I got a nice tweet the other day that informed me that something looking like the money team was trending, and as it turns out, it had nothing to do with the money team in NASCAR. So I am, as I said on Twitter, my disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined.
Yeah, that's the money team minute for you. Just a minute of disappointment, I see. Just nothing. Well, anyway.
Just imagine it got on the track and talk about a minute of disappointment.
Well, all right.
Okay, then.
Calling Floyd out.
All righty, then. That's the money team minute with Hal Leestep. Let's get into some other news, just run it down real quick. For those who are unaware, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, put out a tweet that was pretty critical of Bubba Wallace and NASCAR, saying that Bubba should apologize for the whole situation that happened at Talladega and for the hoax that happened. Not really to the surprise of many. Several in the NASCAR community were very critical about it, at least on the media side of things. And Tyler Reddick, who drives for Richard Childress Racing in their number 8 car in the Cup Series, he had a very blunt and very direct tweet saying, I don't have it pulled up with me, which I really should, but it was along the lines of, we never needed your support and we don't need your support now. It's basically calling out the president. Now, based on conversations that Reddick had with RCR employees afterward, he took the tweet down. So it can no longer be seen. However, there were many screenshots around of it. So there's that happened earlier this week. And speaking of Bubba Wallace, he signed a personal endorsement deal with Beats by Dr. Dre. It's a personal deal only. It doesn't really include sponsorship in NASCAR. However, there have been a lot of reports that more sponsorship for Richard Petty Motorsports is incoming this season. And another thing I should mention about Bubba Wallace is that NASCAR put out the current leaderboard for fan votes for the NASCAR All-Star race, and Bubba Wallace is actually leading the standings over Clint Boyer, Matt DiBenedetto, and other drivers. So just something noteworthy there. Okay, here's the good news. Some good news, I should say. Sorry, John Krasinski, meaning to borrow off you, but here's this. Natalie Decker missed the Pocono truck race due to issues with bile ducts, being hospitalized with bile duct illness after gallbladder surgery in the off-season. She has been released from the hospital and has been cleared to return. She will be back tomorrow running the 44 truck for Nice Motorsports at Kentucky. But what got a lot of other attention was that Jimmy Johnson, the 7-time Cup Series champion, who was forced to miss the Brickyard 400 because of a positive COVID-19 diagnosis, has been cleared to return to Kentucky. A round of applause for that. Jimmy is back. And luckily, he only missed one race. He'll be back behind the wheel. He's 15th in the points right now after missing the Brickyard 400. He's 30 points above the cut line at 16th place. Just a couple other news items. Sebastian Vettel said in a news article that he would be willing to return to Red Bull Racing, the team that he won his 4 world championships with, if he was given the opportunity. However, Christian Horner, the team director, said no, not going to happen. So you have that. I think it's safe to say Red Bull is very confident with Alex Albon and Max Verstappen as their drivers. And unless something catastrophic happens or is something that's greatly disappointing, Vettel's not going to be at Red Bull. And then last bit of news, for the All-Star race that's happening next week at Bristol Motor Speedway, underglow lights will be on the cars. This is something really interesting to make them look like, I don't know, city street tuners at night. It just reminds me of a combination between the Fast and Furious movies and the Cars movie, that scene where those 4 tricked out hot rods are sneaking up on Mac, the semi, trying to get Lightning McQueen out of the back. So just that alone is just really interesting. But I mean, it'll be entertaining. There's that. So that's our bits of news that we have going on. So let's talk about the schedules updated, the continuing updating schedules that have been going on around the racing world. Let's start with Formula One because they have added a couple of new races to their schedule. As of the last update, they had the Italian Grand Prix run at Monza on September 6th. They've now added 2 Grand Prix to the schedule. They will run for the first time at Circuit Mugello in Tuscany on September the 13th. So it'll be a completely different track for Formula One, something they've never run on before. But we'll see what happens for that. And also, they will take a week off September the 20th before returning to action September 27th at the Sochi Autodrome in Russia for the Russian Grand Prix. That will be on September 27th. So just 2 new races added in. We'll just have to wait and see if more get added on later. Now, NASCAR also updated their schedule for the month of August. And their schedule reads as such. On the first full weekend of August, August 7th through the 9th, NASCAR will be at Michigan International Speedway. All 3 National Series and ARCA will be at the Michigan International Speedway. I should say the Cup Series will have a doubleheader at Michigan. I redact my statement. Cup Series will run a doubleheader. Trucks will run at Michigan. as well, along with ARCA. Xfinity Series will be at Road America for that weekend. They will run a standalone event at Road America on Saturday, August 8th. Now, the next weekend, the 14th through the 16th, because of New York State's tight restrictions on sporting events in the aftermath, in the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, running a race at Watkins Glen appears to be very unlikely. So NASCAR has made a change to their schedule. They will run August 14th through the 16th at the Daytona Road Course. Yes, they're getting a trial run in for the Daytona Road Course before the Clash that will be run in February in 2021 for the Cup Series. In fact, this is going to be interesting because all 4 series are going to be running there. ARCA, Xfinity, Trucks, and Cup Series will run at the Daytona Road Course. Then Dover, August 21st through the 23rd. ARCA, Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series will all be there. In fact, it will be a double header, if you can believe it, with Xfinity Series and the Cup Series running 1 race each on Saturday and Sunday for both series. It's going to be an action-packed weekend there. And then at the end of August, the 28th through the 30th, on the 28th and the 29th, the Xfinity Series and Cup Series will be back at Daytona running on the oval, the 2.5-mile oval at Daytona International Speedway, while ARCA and the Truck Series will be running over in the St. Louis area at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. The ARCA Series will be running Saturday, August 29th. It'll be a night race at Gateway. Meanwhile, the Truck Series will run Sunday, August 30th at Gateway with a noon Eastern time start with the IndyCar race to follow. So that's a look at the most recent schedule update for the NASCAR. Oh, and in addition, the Cup Series will run the Daytona Road Course with a package that includes 750 horsepower. They're going to be going fast around that track. So I guess with all of the schedule announcements, I think we can all agree that the Daytona Road Course is the most noteworthy addition to the schedule. I gotta ask, how's it gonna be? I'll start with you on this. How's it gonna be to watch cars going around the Daytona Road Course with 750 horses under the hood?
Oh, it's going to be fast, and that's what we want to see out of our race cars. As fast as they can go, usually, as long as it's safe. I'm hoping they can stay safe on the road course. I imagine they will be able to. But something about the speed, it frightens me just a little bit. But that's just the cautious side of me. The absolutely reckless side of me is saying, yes, let me see them going as fast as possible. I want to see them going so fast, passing each other. That's the most important thing. I want to see some passes. Now, road courses are usually really good. I'm going to miss the Glen for this year. And I will say, don't you dare take away one of my Daytona races on the regular oval. That is just blasphemy. But this is going to be interesting to see, and I would think it's going to be incredibly entertaining.
There are definitely 2 losers in this situation, and number 1 is Chase Elliott, because that gets rid of a free win for him every single year, it seems like. And number 2, Kyle Busch, who's trying to keep his active and win at every single racetrack, minus the Charlotte Roval streak. So that'll be interesting to see if he can pull it off there. But the Roval at Daytona, we knew it was coming in for the Clash. It's going to be interesting, and to say the least. I am definitely going to be interested to see how 40 cars are going to go into that racetrack. We've seen the races at the IMSA for the 24 hours at Daytona. That usually kicks off kind of the unofficial racing season, and if you want to exclude the Chili Bowl. But Trucks and ARCA being there, that is where I get a little excited, because as knowing those guys, it is going to be an absolute wreckfest. They can barely handle the oval, and I'm just giddy for that race. But I have to preach it because I know this race is going to be a success. I know people are going to be wanting in this race on the Cup schedule next season. But here's the deal. Oh, do we really need three Rovos, as they are called? Oh, three Rovos on our schedule. Oh, do we need the glowing lights? We kind of skimmed over that, but do we need the glowing lights underneath? I think that kind of should be reserved for the Clash and the All-Star race only. Just my opinion, though. No, just a lot of things on this schedule. On the schedule where you're just starting to look at 2021 and you're thinking, these guys are going to overbook things to death and back. Heck, I hope I'm wrong, but just hoping for some moderation in terms of the schedule. Oh, this is kind of one of those races where we got to get it done to get it done. And it sucks that we're not going to go to the Glen this year. And our two regular road courses are going to be off the schedule. It also sucks that we're not going to be going dirt racing at Eldora because that's the race that the trucks race is replacing. And that absolutely stinks, to be honest. But again, it's 2020. We got to do what we got to do to get this season done and over with. And again, I'm really excited for this race. I'm really looking forward to it. But it's definitely going to be something where NASCAR going forward, they need to look at the schedule and say, do we really need three oval rovals, as it were, on our schedule next season? Unless you want to expand it to 40, in which case I'm all for it.
I mean, the schedule is already pretty long enough as it is. I don't think 40 events would be really working. They definitely, some tracks would have to cut some dates, but like both of you mentioned, I'm going to miss the Glen this year. Honestly, it's really unfortunate because Watkins Glen is one of my favorite tracks, one of my favorite road courses and tracks in general, really. It also puts into serious doubt the 6 hours at the Glen that's typically run by IMSA. With the tight restrictions being run, it doesn't sound like 6 hours are going to happen this year. And like maybe years down the road, also, IndyCar, please go back to Watkins Glen. Pretty please. Thank you. I mean, Portland's a great track, but did you really have to get rid of Watkins Glen as a sacrifice? So, but in all seriousness, though, I'm really excited to see what the trucks in particular at the Daytona Road Course. Holy crap. I feel like that's going to be one entertaining race. I mean, we already see how they go at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park every year. How it's typically a crapshoot until the final corner. But, I mean, they're going to be going really fast around turn 4, so who knows what can happen. And with the road course, everyone's going to be a lot more spread out. Actually, now I have a dream scenario. What if you have Cup cars, Xfinity trucks, and ARCA all on the track at once? IMSA-style race, do 500 miles around the circuit. How about it?
How many wrecks can we have in one race? I want to
Yes.
know.
The answer is yes.
Oh, I still want it to happen now. I still want it to happen. I know it probably will never happen in my life, but hey, a man can dream. I mean, anyone can dream, really.
It would have to be during the Fox part of the year because there's no way you could do that. And in July, once NBC gets going,
you probably couldn't do it in July.
Because
I don't know. Well, I mean, who knows? We'll just have to. Who knows what will happen in the future? Who knows what will happen? It's 2020, the year that, frankly, just doesn't care. So
I will say this: the other two things that I will mention about this schedule is why the heck are you having the ARCA race is at 6 o'clock when you have the Cup race at 6? I mean, basically a 7:30. That just does not seem like good marketing in terms of that at one, because you're going to have people scrambling to get to the Cup race. It's right afterwards, or it's following the Gateway race. And then the second thing is the Cup Series is, I mean, that second Dover race is probably going to be one of the lowest rated races of the year, just because as both the Xfinity and the Cup Series are going to be overlapping with the Indy 500. So I'll be very curious to see what NBC does with that race. I'm actually kind of surprised that they did not move up the bye week to kind of alleviate that weekend just to give it to IndyCar, because as this is, I mean, it's definitely not going to be a highly rated race, especially with your 25th race heading into the final two races of the playoffs, before the playoffs, I should say.
Yeah, I just noticed that too. The Sunday, the thing is, the Indy 500, and I don't know why, but they're going to start it around 1 or 2 p.m. Local time for the 500. They could be racing until 6 p.m. And there's one particular Indy 500 fan that I know of who was not happy about the change, about the 500 starting that late, and personally I don't blame him. But another thing I noticed is that the Cup races, the earliest start time for any Cup race in this latest update is 3 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Central time. Noon starts.
Dang it.
Noon starts.
Look, I get it. I get Daytona. I get it Dover. Like, I get Daytona for the night race. That race is always a night race. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that. And I get you have to do it at Dover because you're trying to cram in as many races as possible that week, and you have 2 Xfinity Series races those days. I don't have an issue if you're trying to cram races.
Well, Michigan too. Michigan's got it. 2 races.
Yeah, Michigan as well. But I mean, the Daytona Road Course. The 2 questions I have about that Daytona Road Course is and I know the answer is most likely to both, is does that track have lights in the infield capable of lighting Daytona up in case of a rain delay, which, by the way, it's hurricane season in August. As answer, probably no. And second, can you run on the rain with the road course? There's probably not as well, especially if you're going with a 750 horsepower or power package here. So, yeah, this is going to be a very interesting 3 o'clock start times. You never learn. NASCAR.
Well, don't blame NASCAR on this, because I don't think they're the ones in charge. I think NBC and Fox are really the ones that determine the start times. So, but I mean, still 3 p.m. I mean, I know you're trying to get the West Coast, but I mean, it was like the TV networks didn't care with the Pocono triple header that they ran, and I know they had to get all 3 races in, but I mean, if the West Coast people wake up on time, they tune into the races, they wake up, races were already on. So, I mean,
again, not like people are going to church on the West Coast, because we are all stuck inside still. Oh, it's not like we have large gatherings that we got to go to Sunday morning.
It depends on where you're in the United States. Depends on where you're at.
I mean, true, it does depend, but right now, most of the country is not going to church because of the pandemic.
Well, depends on who you ask, basically. Anyway, we've gone through complaints and grievances with Justin Palmer. This should probably become.
This wasn't even a complaint. This wasn't even a complaint. I mean,
yeah, we should still make it a recurring segment, it seems like.
No.
Let's get into the nitty gritty of this stuff. Let's get into some gas and go. And thankfully, I have my cowbell here. Yeah, you can see it. It's kind of with the screen. Sorry about that. But let's go ahead. I have 6 questions laid out. I'll give each of you 1 minute combined, around approximately 30 seconds for both of you, to give me a pretty quick response to these questions that I'm about to ask. And I'll start with Hal Lee Step on this. So the first question I'm going to ask is, we saw McLaren get a podium at Austria. My first one that I'm going to ask, McLaren will score another podium this season, let's say. McLaren will score another podium this season, yes or no?
You know, it took a lot of luck to get this one along with a perfectly timed fastest lap of the race. I think that's a lot to ride on, but I feel like another situation could arise like that in the future. I'm going to say they will get another podium this season.
It's a 50-50 shot, to be honest. I mean, you can have races like this, and you can have races where just everything – I mean, you have races where everything goes wrong, and I don't know. Oh, depending on how Ferrari is this season, which I haven't been impressed with them so far, I think they can get another podium on the year. Just has to be the right time, place, right time, on the right track.
For sure. So over to Justin now. We'll start this next one. Bubba Wallace, he's in the top 20 in points. It's something that we're not accustomed to seeing out of him in the Cup Series. This is easily his best season that he's had. I gotta know. I gotta wonder, is Bubba Wallace in the playoff hunt for this season?
He's close. I'll give him that. He's 42 points back behind the cut line, and if 8 or 9 races to left before we reach Daytona. And quite honestly, I don't think he's gonna have. I think his ruck's gonna run out soon, because we're heading to the mile and a half. We're heading to the dog days. I just don't think RPM has the speed to get into the playoff conversation.
In the hunt, yeah, in the same way that Ricky Stenhouse is in the hunt. I mean, they do want to get to the playoffs, and they're in a position where they could get up there with a lot of luck on their side. And like Justin said, luck's got to run out at some point, and these are going to be some brutal races. I don't think he's really in contention to make it.
All right. Let's see. Back to Hal for this next question that I've got. There were quite a few drivers who didn't have the most impressive runs in the Austrian Grand Prix, but they're back at the Red Bull Ring, the same circuit. They'll be running the same circuit again this weekend for the Styrian Grand Prix. Who, in your mind, bounces back the most in this upcoming weekend's Formula One Grand Prix in Austria?
Looking at the agenda, these next 2 ones are called my I'm going to bag on Sebastian Vettel segments, because it's not going to be him. It's going to be Max Verstappen, because there is no place to go from 20th but up. He has to improve, and he's historically been great at the Red Bull Ring. If they mess up his car again, he's going to go insane, and I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah, it has to be Verstappen. There's no way he's going to finish 20th in 2 races in a row unless a lap 1 incident occurs. I just cannot see him staying out of that podium this weekend. And so, it has to be Verstappen.
Well, I mean, I do remember back a few years ago when Max Verstappen, one of his early years in Red Bull, and the reliability on the Red Bull cars were just so terrible. In fact, if I look 2017, there were 20 races that were run. He only finished 13 of them. The other 7, he either crashed out or more likely had reliability issues, mechanical, electrical, something going wrong with the car, and something went wrong in the Austrian GP. So it's possible that he might not actually improve from 20th. He could finish 20th again. But, I mean, realistically, though, Verstappen, barring no catastrophes, Verstappen should do better. And Hal mentioned a good point about Ferrari and Sebastian Vettel. Justin, how concerned should Ferrari be about their lack of pace that they showed in last weekend against Mercedes?
I feel like this is the France effect after everybody celebrating World War One, and when in fact you got carried to pretty much the victory. Hey, here's the deal: you got second place because everybody in front of you was just as goofing off, except for Bottas. So I would be very, very concerned if I am in the Ferrari camp, but I know they're not going to do anything to fix it, at least at the bull ring. And I can see this being a little bit of a common thread this season where Ferrari is just not up to speed. And this might be a year where they just do not compete whatsoever and focus on 2021.
How concerned should they be? With Leclerc, I feel like he'll improve throughout the year because Leclerc obviously showed he could improve through the weekend because that was a good run by him. Even with all the shenanigans going on around him, it was a good run. Vettel, how concerned can you be? I mean, he isn't Sebastian Vettel anymore. It is a shell of himself in that car. I wouldn't be concerned about the pace. I'd be concerned about can Sainz do better in that car next year because I wouldn't depend on Vettel this year.
Yeah, Vettel should, in my mind, Vettel should be concerned. Just from the lack of speed. I mean, we knew Mercedes was going to be faster, but not by this much. And we knew – I don't think we expected Ferrari to be this much off the pace, too. I mean, Leclerc got a good run, but Vettel, he was mired back. He barely got in the points. So, this could be a long season for the Maranello team. Hal, back to you on this next one. Who, in your mind, benefits the most from the addition of the Daytona road course to the NASCAR schedule?
Well, I'm looking at benefits. I think of what it replaced was Watkins Glen. And, I mean, I don't think you're going to get a road course specialist. There are none really on the grid anymore. I'd say Chase Elliott maybe. He's been good at the Glen, but this is a new animal. I don't know if anyone really benefits from a new track on the schedule that they've never raced on.
I will say Kyle Busch, just because he's ran on the course, and I would also say Jimmy Johnson could be one because he ran the 24 hours all the way back in 2004, 2005 with Tony Stewart. But here's another name I'll throw out there: Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell is a very solid road course racer, and for whatever reason, Daytona seems to be his wheelhouse and always gets the best out of his equipment. So I would not be shocked if Michael McDowell finds himself in the top 10 yet again this season at the Daytona road course.
Got it in just before. And, yeah, for McDowell, I mean, he does have one career Xfinity win, and that came on a road course, given that's at Road America. But still, he does have some road course capabilities in him. Justin, my last question that I'm going to ask on this, who is most likely to improve during the second half of the Cup Series regular season?
I'm not going to say Kyle Busch because I know I'm going to be immediately let down by him. I'm going to say either Cole Custer or Christopher Bell, but I'm going to lean towards Bell. I just feel like the 95 team just gets better as the season goes on. We saw that with McDowell. We saw that with Casey Kane. And we saw it with the Benedetto. I just have a feeling that Bell is finally going to get a grip of it himself and start clicking in with that team. Just give me Christopher Bell, but I also think Custer will be doing better as well.
I'm going to go with Cole Custer because you're right. After the first stretch of the year, I was going to say he couldn't do worse, but he's actually shown he is doing pretty well, not just by the standard of what he was doing, but just in general. So I think that improvement will continue, more top tens, not consistently, but what you'd expect out of a rookie.
All right. So those are your responses to Gas and Go, and that concludes the Gas and Go segment. So with that out of the way, we've gone through a lot of stuff that happened. Let's get into some weekend picks, and we've got a lot to choose from. So let's not waste any time. Oh, by the way, before we begin, Justin, update on the Xfinity race that is going on, the Allsco 300 at Kentucky.
All but 9 drivers are a lap down, and Austin Cindric continues to lead. But Daniel Hemrick is in second, followed by Brandon Jones, Chase Briscoe, Anthony Alfredo, and Harrison Burton. So it looks like the JGR cars are finally having a good race with 34 laps to go.
34 to go, Cindric in front.
We got a car slowing down.
Car slowing down.
Number 5.
That's one of the BJ McLeod Motorsports cars. So,
no caution appears, so looks like we're going to stay green here And yeah, this is Kentucky. Welcome to Kentucky, folks.
Yep. I don't know. I guess we can just really quick make some picks off the top of our heads who we think's going to win. I'll go first on this one. Cindric. Justin, your pick.
Cindric.
Hal.
Hemrick, please get out of the way, buddy.
I don't know. I feel like I hate to say this, but just from last night's result with Jeb Burton wrecking out in the first corner, JRM 8 car might be the new Roush number 60. I know, pretty bold of me to say, but I would hope that that's not actually the case.
Except for when the boss man gets in, then it's an automatic top 5.
Oh yeah, that's true. If Dale Jr.'s in there, well, who knows what'll happen? It's likely to be successful. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the IndyCar races that are happening. We'll start with that. They are running a double header this weekend at Road America. And we'll have a look at the entry lists for these races. If I can pull them up here. This was initially supposed to be just one race run at Road America. However, things got changed around because of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Qualifying for the IndyCar race tomorrow will be at 1:15 Central Time, and the race itself will be at 4 p.m. Central Time. So just something to keep in mind. Let's look at the first race that's going on, the entry list, as I'm trying to pull it up. Scott Dixon has won the first 2 races of the IndyCar season, and Road America is a track that he has won at before. So, boy, this is taking forever. But I guess I'll start with Justin Palmer making picks on who you think is going to win the first race of the IndyCar doubleheader at Road America. Actually, since there's 2 races going on, let's go ahead and just pick 2 right off the bat. Justin Palmer, your picks for the Road America doubleheader.
I'm going to go with James Hinchcliffe for the first race. I don't know why. I just have a gut feeling that he's going to pull it off. And then the second race is, I don't know. Something just tells me Sato's going to win. And I don't know why. I just have a feeling that Sato can sneak in there and get a victory.
Yeah, I should mention James Hinchcliffe actually is not in the race at Road America. His is only a part-time entry. I'll go ahead and share the screen now for the at least the first race that's going on. This is it right here. So there are 23 entries that you have to choose from. Sato is there. So
yeah, we'll go ahead and go with Simon Pagenaud for this one. I know he's more of an oval guy, but we'll give it this Pagenaud this time around.
All right. So Simon Pagenaud and Takuma Sato, the picks from Justin Palmer to win races 1 and 2 at Road America for the IndyCar Series, the Rev Group Grand Prix. So Hal Leestep, your 2 picks for the IndyCar doubleheader Rev Group Grand Prix at Road America.
For the first race, I'm going to go with Joseph Newgarden. I mean, you see Scott Dixon already running away with the first 2 races. He's at a nice lead now. And I think Joseph Newgarden, the reigning champ, does not want to not win another race. He wants to go out there and win this weekend purely because he needs to catch up, because you don't want Scott Dixon, gaining a huge lead. Second race, I'm going to go with Alexander Rossi. He won here last year, and after a disappointing race last weekend, he needs to get some kind of momentum going, because he's got all the potential in the world, but you don't want to start finishing last consistently.
All right. So Hal Leestep's picks, Alexander Rossi, and remind me again the first one, just real quick.
Joseph Newgarden.
All right. So the defending champion and one of the championship contenders from last year. My pick for these 2 races, first one, he's just on such a roll. I got to take Scott Dixon for the first one. He's just so dominant. And Road America is a track that he's really good at. My second pick, it could honestly be anyone, really, but second pick, I think I'm going to go with Willpower. Just take a safe pick on it. Power also tends to do some really good things at Road America. So I'll take two of the top road course guys here, Scott Dixon and Willpower. Those are my picks for the IndyCar doubleheader at Road America. So we made our picks on the IndyCar side. F1, they are running another Grand Prix, the Styrian Grand Prix this weekend at Red Bull Ring for the second week in a row. Justin, your pick real quick?
I'm going to go ahead and say Verstappen, and I could not see a Mercedes getting 2 in a row here, especially – and Brandon Jones just wrecked. Gosh dang it. But besides that point, as I was saying, and yeah, Brandon Jones hit the wall hard. He's done. And I just can't see a Mercedes getting 2 in the backyard of Red Bull. And the Red Bulls were the only team that looked like they were ready to compete with Mercedes. And I really don't think they're going to let last week just slide on by. They're going to get ahead of Bottas. They're going to get ahead of Hamilton. Hamilton gets on the podium, but it's going to be Verstappen charging for the victory.
It'll be a very popular win at the Red Bull Ring for Verstappen if he's able to get it done. Hallie Step, your pick.
I'm going to stay within the Red Bull Racing family, go with Alexander Albon. Last weekend, Mercedes had gearbox problems, and they were limping along to the finish. And it kind of showed when Albon was just at will. He was going to go right past Lewis Hamilton. Then he got turned. I feel like that's a light of fire under him. He obviously is good at this course. If it wasn't for the fact that he got wrecked, he would have won. I will stand by that, and people can argue. He had all the momentum. He had the better tires. He had everything going for him until that corner. I think Albon's going to come out with a fire under him and win.
All right. So we have 2 from the Red Bull contingent to win it. Okay. I guess I'm just going to take the safe pick then. Hamilton. I feel like he's just he's one of the dominant forces of the sport right now in Formula One. I think it's easy to pick Lewis Hamilton on this one. I feel like he can rebound, especially after what happened last week. Yeah, Hamilton all the way on this one. So 2 Red Bulls, 1 Mercedes, and I considered Bottas, but no one picked Hamilton, so Hamilton. Just picking that. Let's go to the truck race that is happening on Saturday, the Buckle Up in Your Truck 225, or at least that's the title that I have listed for the race that's going on for the trucks. And I actually do have the starting grid pulled up here. I'll get it pulled up right now. It is actually a GMS Racing 1-2-3 on the starting grid, if you can believe that. Brett Moffitt, Zane Smith, and Tyler Ankrum will start in positions 1 through 3. Christian Eckes and Austin Hill, 2 Toyotas, rounding out the top 5. Then you have 2 Fords with Ben Rhodes and Grant Enfinger, 2 ThorSport Fords, I should mention. Sheldon Creed, Todd Gilliland, and Chandler Smith round out the top 10. Chandler Smith, by the way, running for Kyle Busch Motorsports. This will be his first 1.5 mile start, if I remember correctly. So Chandler Smith, one of the hot ARCA phenoms in the sport, definitely going to be something else to keep an eye on. Other cars or other notable entries down the list, you have Ryan Truex is driving for Nice Motorsports this weekend. He's 18th. Natalie Decker will start 15th in her return. Just going down. Angela Ruck is back behind the wheel. She actually got some sponsorships, so she'll be back at Kentucky. She's 23rd. Going down the rest of the grid. And you got Spencer Boyd driving for Young's Motorsports. Spencer Davis. Brennan Poole is back in the 30 Toyota. Just going down the rest of the grid, and there's 40 trucks to choose from. So I'll start with Justin Palmer again. Justin, your pick for the Buckle Up in Your Truck 225 at Kentucky. Who gets it?
Clean air is king. at Kentucky. We say that a lot at every single track we go to. However, I feel like this one is going to be a pretty much whoever's out front at the end of stage 3 is going to be the winner of this race. And I have a feeling that Tyler Ankrum will be the guy who takes the outside lane on the restart in the 3rd stage and just runs away with it. And Tyler Ankrum, go ahead and give me a GMS driver.
All right. So Tyler Ankrum, he actually got his first career win in this race 1 year ago, driving for DGR Crossley Racing. So Tyler Ankrum, the pick for Justin to go 2 in a row in Kentucky. Hal Estep, your pick for the Truck Race 225 miler at Kentucky.
My brain is saying Brett Moffitt, but my brain is pretty wrong when it comes to predictions. So I'm going to go with my gut and say Christian Eckes, because let me be clear. You are in the 18 truck for Kyle Busch, and he has clearly stated, I don't appreciate mediocrity in my trucks. I want winners. It's time to go get a win, because your boss ain't exactly the most patient guy when it comes to it. I think it's time for him to go get it.
All right. So we have 1 pick for Tyler Ankrum, 1 pick for Christian Eckes. I'm going to go a little outside the box with my pick. I'm going to go with somebody who has won at Kentucky before, but they haven't won a truck race in a while, but they have very quietly, just over the last couple of years, really been one of the most, maybe not couple, but last year they were one of the most consistent drivers on the circuit, and they're continuing to be really consistent this season. They haven't gotten a whole lot of attention, but I'm going to give them some attention now. I'm going to take Ben Rhodes to win this race. He's won here in the past, back in 2018. He went winless last year, but just going off regular points, he's 2nd in the point standings right now. And he finished in the top 5 last year with several top 10s all throughout the season. Kentucky, it's his home track. He's from Louisville. It's a track that tends to suit his driving style really well. He's won on 2 mile-and-a-halfs. I think he's won at Chicago, if I'm correct. He's also won at Kentucky. So I'm going to take Ben Rhodes for this one. Justin, do you have anything else, something additional to say? Or
No, nothing on that. Just laughing at the Anthony Alfredo getting spun in his pit box. That's reverse.
Well, did he complete the
yes, he completed the pit stop, and he's going to be lining up 8th. That's how many cars are on the lead lap at Kentucky.
Hey, still got a shot to win. Fast pasta with a shot to win. So again, our picks, Justin taking Tyler Ankrum, Hal taking Christian Eckes, and I'm going to pick Ben Rhodes for the Buckle Up in Your Truck 225 for the NASCAR Truck Series. Let's see, what else is there to pick? There is ARCA, I believe. ARCA has a race going on. They will also be running at Kentucky, the General Tire 150. If I can, just real quick, it was Ty Gibbs won their last race. Ty Gibbs won at Pocono, and if I remember correctly, it was Ty Gibbs who won at IRP. I could be wrong, though. I feel like I'm wrong.
Might be.
Let me check.
I forget.
It was Chandler Smith.
Yeah.
Chandler Smith. Chandler Smith won the last race out at IRP, or I should say Lucas Oil Raceway at Indianapolis. He just dominated the race, led over 3/4 of the event. Sam Mayer was 2nd, Haley Deegan 3rd. Just looking to find it on here. All right, here we go. The General Tire 150 at Kentucky Speedway, which will be held tomorrow. Entry list is pulling up now as I speak on here. And I'll just read off the entries that are here. Of course, you'll have Haley Deegan, Michael Self. Chandler Smith is likely going to be in this race as well. Drew Dollar, who won back at Talladega, will be in this race. Thad Moffitt, Ty Gibbs, will probably be in here as well. So you got, okay, here we are, 17 drivers on the entry list. Let's see, you have Haley Deegan in here, Drew Dollar, Tanner Gray, Ty Gibbs, Ryan Repko is back behind the wheel for Venturini this weekend. Chandler Smith actually is not in this race. He's focusing on his truck entry. Sam Mayer will be running for GMS Racing. You have Brett Holmes, Michael Self, Thad Moffitt. So and just there's 17 drivers to choose from out of just those names that I've given. Justin Palmer, any one pick to win at Kentucky?
Well, it's definitely my highest odds to picking a random driver or to win, but I'm gonna go ahead and say Ty Gibbs. I just have a feeling that he's gonna have the mile and a half down by the end of the season, and it might as well start at Kentucky. So it's definitely going to help that Chandler Smith's not going to be in this race for sure, or because otherwise, that definitely would have been my pick to win this race.
Hallie, step your pick.
Man, ARCA races, these are the tough ones to pick because you're really just throwing like a dart at a dartboard, hoping for the best. And I'm not skilled at darts or picking, so it's basically just throwing at random. I'm going to go with Haley Deegan. She's very talented. I think that she's going to finally get to that next level and finally get a win.
Well, that'd be something. Haley Deegan winning in ARCA. I'm just going to go with the championship leader right now for the ARCA standings. I just got a feeling Michael Self's going to take this one. He ran really well at a track very similar to this at Kansas at the end of last year, only running second to Christian Eckes, who won the ARCA championship that night. And, of course, Eckes is not racing in ARCA anymore. He's in the truck series. So, yeah, I'll take Michael Self to win at Kentucky on Saturday. So now we get to Sunday, the Quaker State 400 presented by Walmart. The starting grid has already been drawn, and I will present it to you now. Here we go. Kyle Busch.
Uh-oh.
At Kentucky Pass. What happened, Justin? What happened with Xfinity?
Cameraman fell.
Seriously?
Yeah, cameraman just fell.
What's going on during this race?
They were going around showing all the shots of all the camera guys as covering the race, and the guy, who the traveling camera for the pit road reporter just fell down.
Oh my! How many laps to go? Who's leading? I should ask that.
14. Austin Cindric. He'll be lining up on the outside, and Hemrick on the bottom. They're getting the 1 to go this time, and it'll be 13 to go from here on out.
All right. Well, I think it's clear to say the outside is clearly the preferred line for Kentucky. Anyway, we got picks out in front. Kyle Busch starting on the pole for JGR. Then you got 3 Fords after him with Logano, Harvick, and Almirola. Alex Bowman, the highest qualifying Chevy, in 5th. Rest of the top 10, Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Chase Elliott, Martin Truex, and Matt DiBenedetto. Let's see. Ryan Blaney starts in 11th. Denny Hamlin in 12th. Further down the list, Eric Jones in 16th, Matt Kenseth and Bubba Wallace 17th and 18th. Jimmy Johnson is back behind the wheel this weekend. He starts 20th. Going down further, Cole Custer starts 29th. Christopher Bell 34th. Let's see, and that's it. 38 cars on the entry list, so not a very large field for the Cup Series. Justin Palmer, I'm going to start with you. Your pick for the Quaker State 400. Who wins it?
I can't say Kyle Busch. As chaos is happening in the Xfinity race, I gotta stop watching it. I swear. But
Okay.
I think it's going to be a revenge week, and I think Denny Hamlin is going to strike back. I just have a feeling it's going to be Toyota, and I can't say Kyle Busch because I know I jinx him as well.
All right, so one pick for Denny Hamlin. Hal Leastep, your pick.
I'd like to take this moment to say I am never going on a tangent for a driver ever again. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., how dare you? I went out on a limb last week. Okay. I'm going to go with I'm lifting the curse. I'm going with Kyle Busch. This is Kentucky. This is a place where clean air really does rule. Unless Kurt Busch decides he wants to get in his brother's way again, I don't think that he's going to have anybody challenging him. Kyle Busch needs the win. This is a track he's good at. And quite frankly, it's long overdue.
I mean, Kurt Busch won this race last year in what was actually a really thrilling finish. But okay, let's see. We have one pick for Kyle Busch. We have one pick for Denny Hamlin. Let's see. I am going to – excuse me. For my pick, I'm just going to go with Hamlin's rival at the moment and say Kevin Harvick. I just think Harvick's on a roll right now, and he's already one of the more consistent drivers out there, and he can back it up with a lot of wins. I think this is already an outstanding season for Harvick. I think he gets it done. He will be winner at Kentucky. So those are our picks: Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin. Justin, anything else on the Xfinity race, or how chaotic is it?
It's about 10 laps to go, chaotic. Just a lot of tight racing at the moment. But Daniel Hemrick couldn't make it stick on the restart, and he's now all the way back in sixth.
Yeah, that's that bottom line. It's really,
correction, eighth.
It keeps getting worse. So maybe that 8 car is cursed. Anyway, we've actually reached the end of the show tonight. We breezed through.
Not quite. Not quite.
Not quite.
We got a couple more races to go.
That's right. I am completely forgetting the All-Star race. My apologies. My most sincere apologies. Let's talk about the All-Star race, because there's going to be a lot of drivers in the open show for the All-Star event. This will be at Bristol on Wednesday, July 15th. So I'll have to see if I can pull up the entry list for this, because there's going to be a select few drivers already in the All-Star race itself. So for the entry list for the All-Star race, as we look at it, looking at it here. Okay. Drivers currently eligible for the All-Star race include Ryan Blaney, Alex Bowman, Kurt and Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Justin Haley. Yes, Justin Haley will drive for Spire. Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, Eric Jones, Matt Kenseth, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Ryan Newman, and Martin Truex Jr. So those are the drivers who are for sure in the All-Star race. Now, the final 4 spots in the field will be reserved for the 2 stage winners, race winner from the Open, as well as the fan vote winner for the All-Star event. So I got to ask, Justin, let's start with the Open. Which 3 drivers get in, or should we toss in the fan vote for this as well? You think?
We might as well. At this point. Why not?
Okay. 3 people from the Open plus fan vote. Let's start with that. And I'll let you know if there's any driver that you pick that is already locked in.
Now, this is going to be a tough one. I will say that much. But because there's going to be a lot of guys who I would normally consider guys who could go out and get wins, but just aren't good. And also you have to consider the fact that this is Bristol, baby. This ain't Charlotte. It's Bristol, baby. With horrible number fonts, but it's Bristol, baby. I got to pull up the eligibility list is here, because that will definitely determine in how I do it. But I know who one of the guys I have in the play. I have racing their way in. It just feels like there's a narrative leaning into it. I'm not going to say the narrative. I think Bubba Wallace was his way in. I don't think he gets the fan vote. We saw him win. We saw him win the second, and I think it was the second in stage last year or to get into the Open. I just have a feeling Bubba Wallace will get that third and final transfer spot, which means the other transfer spot that are going to go to, I think DeBenedetto is going to win the first stage. I just cannot see him getting in without it. And I'll say Clint Boyer wins the second, and which means the fan vote is going to be very, very intriguing. And oh man, the fan vote. Oh, and that I don't know who's in fourth place at the moment, and I'm stalling for time. I'm here if you can't tell already, but I'll go ahead and say DeBenedetto, Clint Boyer, Bubba Wallace as my three drivers who race their way into the show. Oh, and then I got to think of a fourth guy. I got to get to the fan vote because I have no idea who's on top in that at the moment.
Tell you what, I'll come back to you on the fan vote, and same goes with Hal. So, Hal, three drivers who advanced their way in from the Open itself.
Well,
and what I have out in front is the list of drivers already in the race, already in the All-Star race.
Okay. I'm going to agree that Matt DiBenedetto is going to race his way in. He is really good at Bristol. It's kind of ridiculous. I'm going to say William Byron will race his way in. I mean, he's sporting some San Jose Sharks colors on his car, and quite frankly, that makes me think that he can only win during the stages. He's not going to win the whole thing. As for the whole race, this is a tough one. I'm going to go with Tyler Reddick to win and get in. And the fan vote I will predict because I'm going to say Bubba Wallace will get in by a fan vote.
Wow. All right. So I'm actually pulling up the top 10 in the fan vote right now.
Yeah, I'm going to actually make a switch here. I'm going to say DeBenedetto wins in stage one. I'm going to say I'm going to flip it and say Byron wins. And it's the second stage. Bubba Wallace wins the third, and Clint Boyer gets in on the fan vote. So the top four get at my vote, but Timmy Hill's going to make it very close, I have a feeling, in the next couple of days.
Timmy Hill.
Timmy and Cindric just won, by the way. Nothing too eventful there.
Cindric won?
Cindric won.
Man, talk about a doubleheader sweep. That was actually one of the questions I asked Cindric last night during the presser. Asked how confident he was. He just said, very confident. Really no other words, just very confident. So Austin Cindric, 2 in a row. He's got Kentucky nailed down, sweeps the doubleheader, and 4th career win overall. Congrats to Austin Cindric on the win tonight. So moving on to my picks, I'm going to take Matt DiBenedetto to win at least one of the stages, probably the first one. The second stage, as I look through the list, just the list of drivers here, second stage is going to be tough. I'm going to say Bubba takes the second stage. And as for the Open overall, because after the first 2 stages, the winners of those stages, they'll drop out because they're already locked in. So for the winner overall, this is going to be a tough one. But I think I'm going to take Eric Almirola. It's a pick out of left field, but why not? And fan vote, I'm going to say Clint Boyer because looking at the leaderboard now, Bubba leads it, and then it's Clint Boyer, followed by DiBenedetto, William Byron, Corey LaJoie, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Timmy Hill, Eric Almirola, and Austin Dillon. That's the top 10 in the fan vote. So now that we have those picks from the Open and the fan vote, let's go through who do you think wins the whole shebang of the All-Star race at Bristol Motor Speedway. We will start with Justin Palmer.
Oh, we got a little bit of pushing and shoving in here in
Someone's
the garage
getting
area.
fined.
Yeah, looks like Harrison Burnin and I can't. Oh, and now it's a full-blown flight. We got a flight here, boys.
Woo!
Tempers are flaring at Kentucky, and we got a full-blown fight and in the garage area.
How about
This is gonna be good.
Sounds like a handful of suspensions.
Oof. Ooh. And speaking of, and they're showing an alternate angle here.
apparently
But yeah,
it's
come
not
back to me.
Gragson.
Eh,
It's Gragson and Harrison Burton.
Yeah, yeah, it's Harrison, Burnin, and Gregson, and I knew it was at least Burnin in the fight.
Yep.
Hey, they're throwing some haymakers.
Yeah. It sounds like Gragson just ran Harrison Burton in the wall on one of the laps. Man, this is I'm starting to see a trend, it seems. Drivers not happy with Noah Gragson.
I'm wondering why. This is entertaining. Note to self: do not schedule these things during races, especially during the Xfinity series. Also, there's a flag now planted. The checker flag's now planted in the grass. I'm not sure why.
That's from Cindric. That's a signature thing.
Yeah, that's probably from Cindric, but
okay. So,
all right. Hey,
note to self.
refocus.
Note to self now: don't schedule a show while a race is going on. So know that for the future. Back to this, Justin. You had your picks of Bubba, DiBenedetto, Byron, and Boyer. Moving on from the Open and fan vote. So for the whole thing overall, the All-Star race at Bristol Motor Speedway, who you got?
Wouldn't it be ironic if Chase Elliott and Joey Logano found themselves as 1-2 entering the final laps of the All-Star race for $1 million? And wouldn't it also be ironic for Brad Keselowski to be in third? However, this time I am not going to go with the traditional script of Chase Elliott handing Brad Keselowski a win. And I think Joey Logano returns the favor and wins the $1 million for himself. I think Joey returns the favor, gives the bump and run, and cleanly doesn't wreck Chase Elliott, but Joey Logano ends up winning the $1 million. Is to a very disappointed fan, and it'll be a great race, but it's gonna be, and just for the record, let this be the only race where we have to see those stupid, ugly numbers on the side of the car. Here, let this be the only race. I know NASCAR is going to come up with some sort of question on the NASCAR fan poll rigging and get two of the numbers on the side, but Joey Logano wins and he gets the $1 million, and let this be the last race with those numbers on the side because they belong in the middle.
Hey, it's okay. We got Dayglow underneath the cars. Dayglow.
Not sponsor colors, so.
All right. So let's see. Joey Logano pick for the All-Star race. Hal Leestep. The options are in front of you, and plus the 4 that you chose yourself. Who do you have making $1 million, or however much money it is nowadays that the All-Star race winner gets?
I'm trying to think on this because on one hand, I really do want to say that those numbers are horrific, and I hate that they're in the position that they are. The more I see them, the more I hate it. If William Byron's car was a regular scheme with the regular numbers, it'd be the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Teal and orange, perfect. Instead, it's horrible. Now that out of the way, the underglow is also going to be just nice aesthetic, but that's it. Anyways, besides NASCAR trying to sully what cars are, I'm going to go ahead and say that as much as I want to pick Justin Haley, because that'd be just amazing, I guess there's not a situation on the planet where that happens. I'm going to go with Jimmy Johnson. It feels like poetic justice that his only win on the year would be one that doesn't count towards points and make my heart hurt more. So I'm going to go with Jimmy.
Wow. Okay. So we have Jimmy Johnson for a pick on the All-Star race. And something I just noticed that I feel like it's important to bring up because NASCAR sent a memo reminding its teams to follow coronavirus protocols. This was from a tweet that I'm reading now from Jenna Fryer of the Associated Press. The memo in detail reads, "There are pockets of complacency that left unchecked will threaten our ability to continue racing. We're seeing more and more van loads of crew members rolling up to the track without masks on and people wearing their mask down around their chin. Only 2 of 5 pit crew members answered honestly on their pre-entry questionnaire about their prolonged exposure to a colleague who tested positive. With infection rates significantly increasing in many places we work and race, including Florida, North Carolina, and Texas, exposure to community spread is increased. More people in our industry are going to contract the virus. The key is limiting it. Maintaining the integrity of the footprint in the garage area with only essential personnel being allowed is imperative. It is important for everyone to do their part all the time." Those 3 words in all caps. "One cluster outbreak can derail our season. Please ensure this is communicated properly throughout your organizations." And it should be noted that in the fight that just unfolded, Noah Gragson was not wearing a mask. So
Yep.
he could be in a pretty serious fine. Also, he landed a haymaker 10 out of 10 rating, basically.
You know what? I'm not going to forgive the violation of protocol, but you know what? Any man who can land a proper haymaker in a NASCAR fight has my respect.
Dang, I mean,
That was a lick.
he landed it perfectly on Burton.
Did Burton take it well?
He went down. He went down
and basically tackled Gregson afterward.
Yeah.
So now the quote that rings in my head from Kevin Harvick a long time ago, 2010 I think it was. He's like, "I like fights. Fights are fun. The sport was built on fights. We need more fights."
Not now. Oh, we don't need fights right now.
Oh, who cares? I mean, Anyway, so with all of us getting sidetracked now, I'll go ahead and make my pick just for the All-Star race. And Hal, you took mine. I was going to pick Jimmy Johnson, but let's see. We have one for Joey Logano. We have one for Jimmy Johnson. Let's see. Who should I go with this time? I'm going with, tell you what, I'm going to go with Justin Haley. Just kidding. I'm not actually going to pick Justin Haley. I'd be crazy to pick a Spire Motorsports car. I'm going to go with a popular figure in the sport, though, and go with Ryan Blaney. Bristol, I think, is one of the tracks that he's actually really good at, and he just never has the luck. So Ryan Blaney, I think, is a driver of the caliber to make $1 million, or, again, however much money it is. I'm not sure if it's $1 million anymore. But the choose cone rule will be in use, so should be a fun night of racing with 30,000 fans all masked up and ready to cheer on their drivers. And who knows, maybe we'll see a fight afterward. So,
if we did get a fight between Chase Elliott and Joey Logano, all those weeks back, I doubt we're gonna get one for the All-Star race. But hey,
we had one tonight with Braxton and Harrison Burton.
We got one tonight. What in the world is happening in this sport? Or you got the president tweeting about the sport. You got at choose cones. We got rollovals galore. Or we got numbers on the side of the cars. Or we got underglow. Oh, we got. I don't know what in the world is going on, but
2020.
This has been a absolute wild, and I mean wild ride for 2020. And we'll see what NASCAR does with that little fight. And once again, I cannot stress this enough. Numbers, middle of the car. Don't want to see it. Don't want to see it. As much as I'm excited for the choose cone rule, I can. I just hate the number placement.
Just don't vomit while watching. So, all right. Now we've made our picks and gotten to the end of the Xfinity race and watched a pretty interesting fight unfold right in front of us during the show on air. So, boy, that was fun. But unfortunately, the fun must end. So we have officially reached the end. By the way, I actually do want to make one quick note, or just bring up one noteworthy option. Today also marks a special day for a particular NASCAR family, legendary in the sport. Today would have been the 40th birthday of Adam Petty, the late Adam Petty, who lost his life in an accident at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway in 2000. Only 19 years old at the time when he was killed. Today would have been his 40th birthday, and honestly, what could have been for Adam Petty in the sport of NASCAR. He is greatly missed by many, and I think I speak for all of us when I say I wish that we were old enough that we had gotten to see him race, because he would have been a great name, great ambassador for the sport of NASCAR. So happy 40th birthday to Adam Petty, and our best wishes and condolences to the Petty family, and along with Petty, with other drivers who have gone before. And that basically wraps up the show. Hal, Justin, any last words before we end the show tonight?
I'd like to give a shout out to our fellow KCOU staffer, Emma. She has her birthday today, which is pretty nice. Happy birthday, Emma. And also to the NASCAR drivers, take notes from Noah Gragson. Go to a boxing class when this is all over so that we can see some proper fisticuffs. That was good.
Yeah, he landed it pretty perfectly. And also, in addition, happy birthday, Emma. Wishing you all the best today. Let's see, Justin, anything you want to add on?
If NASCAR drivers want to fight, NASCAR needs to bring the cage wherever they go. Every single time, after the race, get a tractor, pull the cage up to the middle of the grass. As if a driver throws down the gauntlet, go in the cage and let them have at it for 2 or 3 minutes, and then separate them.
Get Floyd on the phone.
That's all I gotta say. But interesting Xfinity collision, I should say. And looking forward to everything that comes up this week in terms of the racing product. And should be a good week. And I guess happy 10th anniversary to me for going to my first NASCAR race, and 12th anniversary to going to my first NASCAR track. I was actually there for the SHR announcement at the speed booth. So definitely a day that, and I will definitely remember for sure, and glad I'm spending it with you guys.
Oh, thanks now. Now you're making me blush. I'm kidding. But in all seriousness, though, really nice to have a show tonight, even with the Xfinity race going on at the same time. Congrats again to Austin Cindric for sweeping the doubleheader tonight. And just a couple things come to mind. One, Noah Gragson should have worn a mask, but at the same time, he landed that punch perfectly. And I now want to echo the sentiment that NASCAR spotter Kevin Hamlin has. That fight should have had some underglow lights on it just to make it that much better. So on that note, we will conclude tonight's show. Thank you all so much for watching and listening to us from wherever you're at. And once again, stay safe, stay healthy. Please wear a mask for your essential workers out there. Not highlighting anyone in particular, but please just do that. Thank you. At the same time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and please be kind to one another, both in person and online during these turbulent times. For Justin Palmer and Hal Estep, we will see you next week to talk about more motorsports around the country and possibly around the world. Until next time, I'm Sterling Siemens, signing off.